Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, August 3rd at 2:20 in the afternoon. My name is Larry Cedar, and I'm back with you with another session on scanning. Now it's spelled S-C-A-N-N-I-N-G, just like the word, because what we're going to do in this session, which is what I try to do every day, is scan our bodies for physical tension. Scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. Now I try to do this a couple times a day. I try to do at least one session here publicly with anyone who's interested who thinks it might be of value to them. It's based on the theory that in life we vacillate between two basic states of being, contracted or expanded. And to experience that physically, just squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. And on my count, you're going to release all tension in your hands. 3, 2, 1, release. That's expansion. So everything in the universe, everything you see, feel, do, think, touch, experience is either in a state of contraction or expansion. Our physical body is a state of contraction. It's the bringing together of materials, thoughts, ideas, substances, atoms, flesh, bone, blood, skin, hair, thoughts to form a human being. And when we die, after we've contracted, we expand and go back into dust, to nothing, to atoms, to particles. So that's everything in the universe. And the reason that's valuable to know is because it's a great way to gauge your state of consciousness. And furthermore, once you've gauged your state of consciousness, which can also be contracted or expanded, you can control your state of consciousness. You can learn how, when you are too contracted, or what I call overly contracted, to expand. When you are overly expanded, dissipated, unfocused, you can learn how to contract. You can gauge everything on that basis. I used to go into bookstores endlessly looking for the answer to life. I think we all do. You always look for that one book that says, that speaks to me. This explains life to me. And I found this book about 30 years ago called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment by Thaddeus Golas, G-O-L-A-S. And I looked at that book and I said, that makes a lot of sense. Only about 70 pages long, breaks the universe down into those two basic processes, contraction and expansion. And I thought about that book for years and years and years. I thought about it, I read it, I memorized it. I've memorized the whole book. That's how many times I've read it. And it made so much sense to me because I began to recognize in my life when I was in a contracted state and when I was in an expanded state and how that made me feel. Generally speaking, when I was sad or unhappy or angry, because they help us expand. We instinctively want to expand when we are overly contracted. When you say, I need a drink, you're overly contracted and you need to expand. Relaxation is a form of expansion. Clearing your mind is a form of expansion. Yoga, meditation, taking a walk, dancing, these are forms of expansion. Open up, letting go. So we instinctively crave expansion, especially in these highly stressful times. So through a series of experiments and so forth, I came up with a technique which I feel can help me expand, and hopefully you, on a very simple level, very fundamentally simple level. You're going to learn this technique in 5 seconds. Once you learn it, you can practice it as much or as little as you like and see what it does for you. The only difficulty in expanding, or what I call scanning, is starting, because frequently when we are contracted, we don't want to let go. We want to hold on. How many times have you been thinking about something and you can't stop thinking about it? You're obsessed about it, or you're physically tense and you just can't relax. And someone says, hey man, relax. And you go, what do you mean? I don't want to relax, right? We resist it because it's control. Contraction is control. So the only thing difficult about scanning or getting yourself to scan is getting yourself to start and acknowledging that you will be okay. Then once you start to expand, you'll start to feel great. And you're going to want to do it all the time, like I do. So squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Feel that. Okay, so that's great. Everything has two sides to it. Contraction can be excellent. It's strength, it's decisiveness, it's thinking of an idea, formulating an idea, a script, a book, building a building, building a rocket ship, forming a relationship. These are contractions, the bringing together of forces, ideas, thoughts, words, feelings, and holding on to that. That's how we create a life. So contraction is good. Contraction takes strength, so it's good to be strong. So just see what that feels like. That's contraction. You're now physically experiencing one of two basic forces in the universe, contraction. Okay? Hold on to it. Now you'll notice your hands are starting to get a little tired. Maybe you're thinking, okay, that's enough. I'd like to let go now. But maybe you have to hold on. Maybe this is your career. Maybe this is your relationship. Maybe this is some political belief you just can't let go of. Maybe you're obsessing about it. So now it's starting to hurt you a little bit because you're committed to it, but you can't let go. And the tighter you hold, the worse you feel, so the tighter you hold. So that's an overly contracted state. So the solution is simple. Release all muscular tension. Make that decision. 3, 2, 1, and release. That's expansion. Now you're experiencing expansion, the opposite of contraction. Take a deep breath. And another. And another. Now just sit for 15 seconds in absolute stillness and silence. So you've just learned how to scan or expand. Again, I call it scanning because what we're going to do is we're going to go through, after we've done these preliminary sort of warm-ups, is move through the body zone by zone, and I'll break them down in a minute, and scan our body like you would scan, like a brain scan or a body scan. Scan our body for pockets of muscular tension. Now, why do we use the muscles? Why don't we think our way out of this? Why don't we just say, I'm going to stop thinking about my job. I'm going to stop thinking about the money I owe. I'm going to stop thinking about that relationship I'm having trouble. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to clear my mind. Well, it's very difficult to manipulate your brain in that way. The brain is a phenomenal mechanism. It can run circles around any of your intentions. And we know that because when we try to control our thoughts, we know how difficult that can be. So we use the muscles because the muscles are dumb. They're not as smart as the brain. The muscles can only do one or two things. Coincidentally, contract or expand. And the beauty of it is you can't contract and expand at the same time. So the muscles have a binary function, and you can choose which you want. You can take your hand and squeeze it. That's contraction. You can release the tension, and that's expansion. So once you've started to move into an expanded state in any part of your body, you've moved that part of your body and thereby the rest of your being into a more expanded state. Again, you can't contract and expand at the same time. So we use the muscles because they have a very simple binary function, contract, expand, as opposed to the brain. We're using the muscles, as I said in the beginning, the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm, or an expanded state. That's the beauty of this technique. It's very, very simple. And if you ever forget how to do it, just squeeze your hands together. That contraction, 3, 2, 1, release, that's expansion. And just repeat that. Find ways to release muscular tension in your body progressively, incrementally, and this will bring you into a more expanded state. The muscles will pull the mind and the emotions into a more expanded state. So let's get started. Again, very, very simple. You've learned the technique basically. I just come to these sessions for myself because I use these sessions to help me expand and relax, and also for anyone who wishes to be reminded of or guided through this process to listen to how I do it and take some guidance from that. So let's go. Squeeze your hands together just to remind you what it is. Contraction, 3, 2, 1, and release. There you go. You felt it. You felt the difference. Now we're going to move through 8 zones of the body, 8 muscular zones. And we only do that because if I said to you, relax your entire body, it's like, that's too much. So we break it down in very specific areas. And we're going to start with the areas that we're most familiar with, we're most attuned to muscularly. Certain muscles, if I say to you, relax your knee, you go, how? Because we don't think very often about using our knee. We just use it. But if I say to you, make a fist, now relax your hand, yeah, we use our hands all the time. So we know the difference between contracting and expanding. So the same thing. We start zone 1 with the face. Now we use our faces to express ourselves quite regularly. So we're aware of those muscles. So we start there. So on my count, I want you to release all the muscular tension in your face. And you'll feel a drooping, a sagging sensation, as if you suddenly went emotionally dead. So 3, 2, 1, and release. Just take a second and see what that felt like. Really important to note, observe, register the contrast between having a lifted, contracted muscle face, an active face, and 3, 2, 1, an expanded face. And when I say expanded, your muscles have completely released. No tension. So that sensation is the core of scanning. The core of scanning, letting go of muscular tension. We're going to move through our body, do that through our entire body, and you will begin to feel a momentum. Your body, which is highly contracted, and that could be because you're tense about the work this morning or some challenge you had or something you've been thinking about or your concerns or worries, that will start to inch away from a contracted state into a more expanded state. Do the face again. 3, 2, 1, and release. And just feel that change. This technique is designed for simplicity. Simplicity. You can learn it in 15 seconds. You can practice it the rest of your life. You can take it to whatever level you like. Now, my goal whenever I scan, because I scan regularly, is to completely relax my body. Sometimes I get there, sometimes I don't. But remember, it doesn't matter. Any amount of expansion is useful. Any amount of expansion is useful in bringing you into balance. If you're overly contracted, any amount that moves you back towards center is wonderful. So never say I have too much time. Never say this isn't working. Take whatever expansion you can find. And there's a million places you can find it. So again, one more time, the face, 3, 2, 1, and release. That moves us into zone 2, which is the top of the head. The top of the head, again, that's one of those zones we're maybe not so familiar with. What tension do I have on the top of my head? Well, just focus on the top of your head, direct your energy there, and see how it feels. And then on my count, let go of an incremental amount of muscular tension. Just let it go. And when you do that, you'll feel a sort of easing of tension. You'll feel like syrup is pouring over the top of your head. You'll just feel the spreading of the muscles. So the top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. So now you've done the face and the top of the head. And pay close attention, because now you're starting to move into a more expanded state. Pay attention. And I say pay attention, tune in to what that feels like. Because you're going to get more and more familiar with how that feels, and that will enable you to get to that state more easily, like learning a dance. Once you know the steps, you can just get up and do it. If you're just learning the dance, it's a little weird and awkward. But pay attention to how it feels, particularly in terms of muscle memory, to let go of muscular tension. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. Which moves us into zone 3, the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. So now you've done the face, the top of the head, and the back of the head. So the whole skull has just released a small, infinitesimal amount of tension. Now, you probably weren't even aware that you were holding on to tension. That happens to me all the time. I'll go to sit down to do a session. I'll go, I really don't need to do this today. I'm feeling pretty relaxed. And then as I start, I go, wow, I was holding so much more tension than I even realized. And we tend to do that. Even just sitting. TV is one of my favorite, well, I shouldn't say favorite. It's one of my nemesis. Nemesis? Because you can sit and watch TV and say, I'm just relaxing. I'm going to go watch some TV. Whenever someone says that to me, I go, be careful. Because watching TV requires a certain amount of tension, a certain amount of focus. So you think you're relaxing, but you're not. You're focusing on the TV. It's holding your attention through the commercials, through whatever, through the political issues you're listening to, through the movie. It's holding your attention. You really want to let go. Don't watch anything. Don't do anything. Just let go. And see how much tension you release. Zone 4 is the neck. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you're starting to get it. Now you're starting to feel, oh, I see. Maybe take a breath. You're starting to feel your body let go. The funny thing is, and again, I've been practicing this for years and years and years, we just sometimes aren't aware of how much tension we're carrying until we sit down and start to consciously let go. And then we go, wow. And the surest sign that you have tension that you don't want to let go of is when you're resistant to this process. I have to laugh at myself every time, because when I go to sit down to scan, I will do anything to avoid starting. I'll play a video game on my phone. I'll check my emails. I'll go on the internet, check some interesting website. I'll start in a minute. I just don't want to do it because I have a lot of contraction that instinctively doesn't want to let go. So if you are resistant to this process, that's a sure sign that you're really going to benefit from this process, because that means you're holding a lot of tension. Zone 4 is the neck. 3, 2, 1, and release. There it goes. Now, I always feel my shoulders drop when I let the neck go because they're connected. Every part of your body is connected. These aren't individual parts. We give them names: foot, knee, shoulder, neck, but everything's connected. Something happens to your foot, you feel it up here. You ever scratched or pinched yourself and felt a twinge somewhere else? All connected, which is great for this process because you can work on one part of your body, whatever's the most available to you, whatever you feel most in tune with. If it's your hands, just use your hands, and it will help relax the rest of you. If you just sit there, if you're in a waiting room somewhere, you're nervous, or you can't relax, just squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. You have to say it out loud. No one will know. 3, 2, 1, and release. Do it again. 3, 2, 1, and release. Do it again. 3, 2, 1, and release. Take a deep breath. There's very many simple, subtle ways to expand. And I like to emphasize that. It's very important because you should never think that it's not available. Expansion is always available. Always. It's just a decision. It's just a decision on your part to move the dial. Zone 4, now zone 5, the shoulders, let them drop 1 millimeter. 3, 2, 1, and release. You feel that drop? You probably had your shoulders up to your ears. You were so tense today. I do. It's 2 o'clock now. I've got already 8 hours of tension built up in me from just the things I had to deal with this morning. We've all got them. That's life. So you've got plenty of opportunities to let go of that tension. You just have to decide to do it. It's the funniest thing. Again, I got to emphasize that the hardest part about scanning is starting. You could do this as much as you want. You could be the calmest person in the world, but we tend to want to drift towards contraction because contraction feels constructive. It feels powerful. It feels like you're in control. It feels like you don't have to be afraid because you're taking action. It's a security contraction against the threats of the world. Expansion feels vulnerable and scary because you're letting down. You're dropping your defenses. You're letting go of your thoughts, ideas, your theories that you think define you. You think that I can't walk out into the world without a clear political stance, a clear spiritual stance, a clear plan for my future and my career. If I drop all those things, what am I? I'm nothing. Guess what? That's the goal in scanning. Go to nothing. Nothing's going to go away. I mean, everything you are is not going to go away. It'll be there when you come back. But take a few moments during the day to go to nothing. Let it all go. Zone 6 is the chest, the stomach, and the front of the waist. The muscles now, again, we're dealing with the muscles. I'm talking a lot about ideas, but the focus of scanning is the release of muscular tension. So there's no need to talk about this technique at all. Once you're doing it, just do it. Chest, stomach, front of the waist, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now feel those all together. The face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders, chest, front of the chest, the stomach, and the waist. Let them all go. 3, 2, 1, and release. If you start to slump in your chair, that's brilliant. You're letting go of all those muscles that are holding you up. You know the expression, keep it together? Well, you're letting it all go. You're doing the opposite. Keep it together is contraction. Let it all go is expansion. We're expanding. Zone 7 is down the back and into the waist and pelvis. And the pelvis is a very tense area, fraught with tension, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pockets of tension in our pelvis. So go down the back and into the pelvis. Let go of the most infinitesimal, incremental amount of tension. Feel the muscles. 3, 2, 1, and release. You'll feel your butt kind of just go, oh. You'll sink into your chair a little bit. Down the back and into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. Down the back and into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you'll see I'll take moments of stillness and silence. Stillness and silence are expansive. Why? Because the opposite of stillness and silence is motion and noise. Motion, action, and words, thoughts, physical activity are contractive. So when you take a moment to be still and silent, you are expanding. Breath is also expansive. When we're contracted, we tend to hold our breath. You ever been doing something very kind of tense and frightening, and then when you're done, you go, why? Because we were holding our breath. We tend to hold our breath when we're about to contract, to take action. It's a more firm position. It's a more held position. Again, nothing wrong with that. If you're going to war and you're about to swing your sword, you're going to be holding your breath because you're putting all that focus and energy into that effort. Not that you're going to war. I hope you're not. So breath is expansive. Muscular release, breath, stillness, and silence. Those are the fundamentals. The fundamentals. Take any of those steps and you will have expanded. The final zone is down the legs. We just did the pelvis, down the legs, and across the knees and into the feet. The feet are very important. Think about your feet for a minute and just focus on your feet. And see if you can make your feet throb. Just think about them. And tune into how they feel. And you'll find that with a little bit of practice, you can actually make your feet throb. Now, what does that mean? That means you're directing the circulation, the blood flow to your feet. That's a healing activity. The blood carries oxygen. The blood carries nutrients. When we are cut off from circulation, those parts of our body suffer. That's why when you relax, you feel so much better and you're so much healthier, because the blood can circulate more freely and bring all that oxygen and nutrients to every part of your body. So you can actually direct a healing energy to any part of your body, and try this sometime. Sit in a chair and just focus on that area. If it's your elbow, if it's your hands, if your head, your neck, just sit quietly and focus your energy on that area and see if you can get that area to throb. I'm doing my neck right now. Try your neck. And there it goes. The other benefit, of course, is sitting in stillness and silence and concentrating on making an area throb as you're concentrating on the beating of your heart. At your most fundamental, you are a human being without a name, without a career, without an activity, without political beliefs or spiritual beliefs. You're flesh and blood. You're a human being. And the most fundamental aspect of the human body is the heart, the beating of the heart. The heart and the brain are the most two important organs. Now, you could be brain dead and still have a functioning body if your heart's still beating. If your heart stops, your brain is useless. So when you think about the beating of your heart and encouraging a pulse in some part of your body, you're tuning into your fundamental nature. When you are completely expanded, you will find that you're sitting doing nothing, and you will just so enjoy the experience of just feeling the beating of your heart, feeling the intake of breath and the exhalation of breath, feeling the sensations of the air on your skin. You will be silent, still, calm, at peace. There will be no expectation. There's no action you need to take. There's no thought you need to have. You're just existing. That is an expanded state. So all of these things are moving us in that direction. Again, if you can only go 1 degree, fantastic. Remember, you can't expand and contract at the same time. So any expansion is a movement away from contraction. So we've done the whole body. We've done the face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders, the chest, stomach, and waist, the back down into the pelvis, across the legs, and into the feet. So that's 8 zones. Again, you can break this up any way you want. This is the way I found is helpful. And again, we're going to do it one more time. I got another about 10 minutes. We're going to do this one more time. We're going to scan our body for muscular tension. And you're going to incrementally release the smallest amount of muscular tension. You say, well, what if I can do a lot? Great. But the whole point is just to feel the change. How much isn't as important as that you feel it, that you feel that release. It doesn't matter how much. You could do it this much, but if you felt it, that's what's important, because that's training you to tune into the expansive process. And you'll start to get where, you could be anywhere and go, I want to expand. Take a breath. Let go of the tension in my face. 3, 2, 1, release. Shoulders, 3, 2, 1, release. Down the back and into the pelvis, 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. 15 seconds stillness and silence. Doesn't matter if your eyes are open or closed. Just be. So you just expanded. So see, I have a very overactive mind. My mind races ahead of me. It's always been that way, and it's gotten me in a lot of trouble because I get ahead of the moment. I think as a human being, one of our beautiful skills, but also troublesome skills, is that we aren't just in the moment like animals are. Animals are just in the moment. They are where they are. Humans, we think ahead. What am I going to do 2 days from now, a week from now, a month from now, an hour from now? We also think about what just happened. I wish I hadn't done that an hour ago. I wish I hadn't done that thing 10 years ago. I wish 20 years ago I hadn't. So we're thinking forward and backward. We're out of our body. We're into another time and space. That's a beautiful skill to have. But it gets us in trouble because we can be racked with tension over something that happened in the past or is going to happen in the future unnecessarily. And we can't let it go. When you're obsessed about something from the past and you finally say, I got to go to therapy. I can't get rid of this. It's just eating me up. Or you're worried about something that's coming up in the future. It's just making you a nervous wreck. It's eating you up. Well, that's a contraction. We're contracting mentally. We're bringing together thoughts, ideas, plans, notions, worries, concerns about things that are outside of the moment. So expansion is very much in the moment. Expansion brings you into the moment. Now, again, you may be resistant to letting go of that future thought and past thought, because on some level you think it's making you feel more secure, or it's giving you control of the future or control over the past, which you absolutely don't have. You can try, but you never really have control of the past or the future. All you have control of is now. So you're reluctant to let go of it because it feels like it's control. If I worry about this thing enough, I'll be able to control it. Well, you can't. So you might as well let it go and be in the moment. And the amazing thing is when you are in the moment, you can really plan well for the future and really reconcile your past because you're clear. Your mind is clear. I can't tell you how fundamentally enthused I am about this process. I've been doing it for probably 10 years, 15, I don't even remember. And I've seen it work in so many circumstances that I just feel I have to share it. I think it's so fundamentally simple. I no longer have to go into a bookstore to look for the right book to explain life to me. I get it. I'm not saying I'm a secure person. I have worries just like everybody else. But I understand the benefits of expansion, fundamental. And I understand the simplicity of scanning, muscular release, as a road to expansion. So let's do it again. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. There you go. You're sinking. The back of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. The neck, let it go. 3, 2, 1, and release. You're starting to slump into your chair. The shoulders, let them drop. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you're starting to really, really release. You're feeling your muscles go slack. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 6, the chest, stomach, front of the waist, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 7, down the back and into the pelvis, 3, 2, 1, and release. And finally, the pelvis down across the legs, the knees down into the feet. Feel those feet throbbing, 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 15 seconds, stillness and silence. For me, one of the greatest benefits of scanning is there can be something I've been worried about all morning, all day, all week, all month, whatever it is. You know, it could be serious or not so serious, but something that I'm just really obsessing about. And it's racking me with tension, my mind, my body. You know, we all have challenges we face. And I will scan, and if the scanning session is even moderately successful, I will find myself realizing that I haven't thought about that thing for the past 10 minutes. It's just gone. Why? As you release the muscles of the body, you move yourself into a more expanded state. As I said, everything is connected. The musculature is connected to the brain. The brain is a muscle of sorts, but it controls or holds on to thoughts, ideas. As your muscles relax, the brain is influenced. It also relaxes, if you will. This is just imagery, but it's a sort of way of looking at it. And it's been holding on to these obsessive thoughts, and as it lets go, those thoughts just float away, and you are left with a blank mind. You've cleared your mind. But we went through the muscles to get there. We didn't think our way out of a thinking problem. That's contracting to get out of a contraction problem. We use the muscles. Again, that's the simplicity of this technique. We're just releasing muscular tension. It's that simple. And obsessing about things can be exhausting. Contracting can be exhausting. When you're worried about something, there's a level of physical tension or mental tension you're maintaining that's using energy. So if you are in a stressful situation in your life, you just are exhausted because you're constantly trying to think your way out, figure a way out. And you do have to deal with things. So you do have to think. But take those moments when you don't have to. You can spare 5 minutes. You can spare 1 minute. You can spare 30 seconds. Find ways to pepper your life with moments of expansion, to balance the contraction. Highly successful people, I guarantee you, are capable of high levels of contraction. They're executing at a very high level. A concert pianist is executing that playing is a very high level of contraction, mentally, physically. That's fantastic. That's what makes us human beings, artists, architects, astronauts, presidents. This is what makes us successful, is our ability to contract, to bring together the thoughts, ideas, and concepts of our particular career or life to achieve, to create. That's fantastic. But the more contracted you are, the more you need to balance yourself with expansion. And I would venture that the really successful people, and you may have people in mind who you see as, people to emulate, idols. I do. I have people I look at and I go, God, how do they do that? I would venture that those people instinctively know how to expand. They can't contract at that level and not instinctively know how to also let go. Because if you maintain a contracted state all the time, it's just going to destroy you. So I think they instinctively know how to do it. And if you look at some of these people, you can tell when they're working, they're working. When they're not, they're chill. That's something I'd like to attain. And I know most people would. You'd like to be able to really work hard and create, but also just let it all go. That's why we so admire people like, you look at Bill Murray. I mean, he's like brilliant, but when you look at him, he's talking, he's just like, yeah, he knows how to do both. And that's it for today. So it's called scanning, S-C-A-N-N-I-N-G, because we're scanning the body for pockets of specifically muscular tension. And we're working through the body, incrementally releasing muscular tension. We use that muscular release to pull ourselves, our very being, including our brain, into a more expanded state, which allows you to let go of all your concerns, your worries, your physical tension, and find a place of peace and quiet and calm, at least a couple of times a day. It's very good for you. I'm addicted. And so I'm here every day at some point during the day, and if you feel this is beneficial to you, I'm more than happy to have you come and join me and type in questions if you have any while we're doing the session. That's why I do the sessions live, to answer any questions you might have. If you missed any or part of this session, you want to review it, I'm going to repost it on my Facebook page. I always repost the day's session on my personal Facebook page, and I also post it permanently on the scanning Facebook page. So if you do a search, S-C-A-N-N-I-N-G, you'll find that page, and that has all my old sessions. So hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's a benefit to you. Again, I do this for myself as well. I feel better if I had to gauge. If I came in at a level 9 of contraction, I definitely feel like a 6. Even if I'd move from a 9 to an 8.5, that's beneficial. I cannot re-emphasize enough how any amount of expansion is beneficial. So don't let time or amount bother you. Just start to do it. And I end every session with rule number 1. Rule number 1 is love yourself. Love is the most expansive act you can take in the universe. Why? Because you're opening up and accepting what is. And by starting with yourself, you're loving all of the processes and parts of you that you either admire or don't, but in any case, you're accepting it all. So when you love yourself, you're expanding. And when you are expanded, that frees you to love others, which can hopefully heal the world. So have yourself a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.